Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to the very first the Wiki podcast episode. Today we have with us Ms. Ritu Bararia. She is the president of the Wiki PR and Digital Marketing Council. A communications leader with over 25 years of experience, Ritu is also she wears various hats. She's an author, she's a mentor, she's an executive coach, and has progressive experience across industries, including aviation, travel, tourism, hospitality, luxury and retail, and education. Currently, Ritu serves SCORE as a senior director. She is a consultant at the Promise Foundation and is a partner at the initiative Our Coach. Ritu has been listed amongst the 100 powerful women leaders in all of Asia in 2023. She has also been featured in a coffee table book around leadership, which is called Leadership Has No Gender Unscripted Leadership Stories. Welcome on board, Ritu. It's great to have you here, and I'm looking forward to a great, meaningful conversation with you.
Thank you, Garima, and it's a delight for me to be here on this platform with you. Thank you for considering me and for having this conversation with me.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. Ritu, let's go a few years back. You have a beautiful 2.5 decade long journey, and I'm sure there's a lot that all of us can learn and understand from where you've come from. So tell us a little about your early years in PR.
Sure, Garima. PR happened to me, I would say, accidentally, which I maintain on various platforms because, yes, it did happen accidentally to me. Uh, so coming from the late 80s and early 90s, the options were very, very limited. I was always very ambitious, but not knowing what exactly was that I wanted to do. So I kept on trying my hands at various things and, which were not really giving me that satisfaction that perhaps I was aiming for. PR happened accidentally, and I just, I joined CII. CII had approached me way back in early 2000. And I would say that was the beginning of my journey into PR. I was heading their tourism and aviation, and CII is more like a high profile public relations job. And so after CII, I was, I would say, taken over by Kingfisher Airlines. I was heading their public relations and also being a part of corporate affairs. And that is when my actual journey into PR began. That was the hardcore PR. And I realized, yes, that this is where, I found my feet there. And I realized that this is something I perhaps want to do in the long run, and there was so much of satisfaction there. And I also started understanding my own skills and what I was good at and what is it that was giving me happiness, which was networking with people, writing content, being a part of various conferences, being on various platforms, interacting with media day in and day out. So that gave me a kind of kick, I think, to begin with. And then after that, there has been no end to the kind of learnings that I have had over this journey of 20 plus years, nearly 25 years. And it has been a very, very exciting journey for me, Garima.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that. And that's so true and relatable. PR is like doing a new job every day. There is so much to explore. There's so many layers. There are so many different clients, functions that one works with, that it's very dynamic and the learning is never ending. So, wonderfully shared there. Um, in your journey, you've serviced so many different clients. You've worked with so many, so both on the on the corporate side and and on the other side. So anything that's stuck with you, anything from a learning perspective, maybe a case, maybe a certain situation, a brand, or a personality that has influenced and shaped you over the period of time.
Sure, Garima. So in my case, I've always been on the corporate side. I've never had an experience of an agency because I'm not really qualified PR professional. My educational background has been very, very different. I've been a history scholar, and so public relations did happen to me. So I would say that qualification is not there. However, and whatever I've learned has been on the job learning for me. And I've always been a part of the corporate side of that, of the corporate communications. So, so instead of talking about any other brand, I would again want to go back of course, these are two consecutive questions, and I'm going to be again mentioning about Kingfisher Airlines. This was not planned, but yeah, that's one brand which has always stood in my mind as a very, very exclusively, it has stood very exclusively in my mind because I was one of the founding members of Kingfisher Airlines. And when the airline was getting launched, I was brought on board within 3-4 months of the airline getting launched. And I always aim to be, I don't know, I think it was my manifestation or whatever it was. I always want to be a part of that. And there I was. I got an offer and I was there. And I have seen how the brand was created with so much of emotion into that, with so much of personal touch into that, with so much of I mean, it was a very, very it was created very beautifully, very exclusively, I would say. And and what added to the brand was the service excellence, of course, and the personal touch. The everybody who was brought on board was trained in such a manner that people who the customers, the clients felt very much at home, and there was this personal kind of a touch, which was given to everybody. And the brand was, of course, the focus was that we are a very, very niche brand. However, at the same time, it's a very personalized brand, right? So everybody was very friendly, very warm. People were given the kind of experience, they were given the kind of attention they were given the clients and all. So I would say that brand and the of course the advertising and everything, of course, did help with that. And it turned out to be a very beautiful brand, and it stood in people's memories. Even
Hmm.
when it has gone, it has always stood in people's memories. And the tagline itself was fly the good times with Kingfisher Airlines.
Hmm. Hmm.
So again a very, very, I think, very catchy tagline, which people
Hmm.
bought. Of course, the
Hmm.
chairman himself was a brand, so that of course added to the brand. But I would say it is one of the best brands that India has seen, perhaps. And I feel fortunate that I've been a part of that brand in creating and building and sustaining that brand.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
yes, for me, it's Kingfisher, and this comes with experience. That what I'm saying, So it's I've experienced it, and I felt it was a beautiful brand,
Right.
fantastically created brand
Hmm.
with a lot of media buzz, good positive media buzz, of course. So I would say I also had some role to play there, and a lot of positivity around the brand. So yes, Kingfisher for me.
Right. Very interesting because, you're talking about the fact that how they curated a full experience and how it was rooted and seated in service excellence. And these are two things that bring a brand alive. So that's a great share there. Moving specifically to WICCI now, Ritu, like we said that, as somebody who's leading the council right now, definitely because this is a space that's dominated by women leaders, one of those rare spaces which is primarily dominated by women leaders. What do you think is unique to women or the feminine power that is able to curate communications or the whole PR effort so much more beautifully that they are predominantly leading this industry? And along with that, I'd also like you to weave in the whole wiki aspect to it. How did you get to start how did your association with the council start, and right now what are the causes and the agendas that you're looking at driving?
Sure, Garima. So, as you have rightly mentioned, public relations and communications is a very, very women intensive area. So, we see a lot of women on top and down the line. There is a whole lot of women there. I personally feel why that is so is that women are naturally very creative. It's a very, very creative field. Women are very creative. They are, I would say, better turned out also. And of course, they understand the sentiment very well.
Mm-hmm.
While you are creating a brand or creating a message around a brand, it's very important to understand that sentiment of the brand,
Mm-hmm.
which immediately relates with the relevant stakeholders, And how to create a strategy around that sentiment, I think it becomes very, very important. So I feel women are uh, naturals at that. They understand that sentiment at that emotion better than their male counterparts. That's what I feel. This is my personal opinion, and that's probably one of the reasons that why women, there are a whole lot of women in this space. And when talk about WICCI happened to me. I mean, honestly, it is not that I was pitching for it or something, or doing or trying to promote myself in this space. No, it was in this space. Sorry, it wasn't anything like that. But it's just that the ex-president. I was keen to become a member of WICCI, and the my predecessor here as a national president of WICCI, and she's a dear friend and an awesome woman herself. She offered me, she says, I feel that you would be able to do justice to this after me, so why don't you give it a try? I was a little apprehensive initially, not knowing whether I would be able to take out the kind of time which is required, or whether I would be able to fulfill the responsibilities that are associated with this. However, I took it on, and we created a beautiful council, and the kind of members that we have now, including yourself, Garima. I mean, they're all awesome people. They're all leaders in their own spaces. They all have a niche attached to them, and they are great workers, sincere, great workers. So I think it's a very, very happy situation for all of us. And we've done some amazing work in WICCI, and which has been appreciated and acknowledged by the fraternity also. So it's a very heartening feeling. Coming to what WICCI stands for, what this particular council stands for, we are here to advocate the and address the causes for women in communications and public relations. I mean, their professional life. Where is it? What is it? That sometimes perturbs them. What is it that? How is it that we can help? How is it that we can raise voice against certain root causes which are there in their professional space? And WICCI also advocates three, four, main issues, major issues, which are very, very uh, known in these times. One is diversity and inclusivity. We have done some good work on this space. We've held panel discussions around the Pride Month, and which was again very well received. And then we also advocate financial independence of women. We also did something. We collaborated with the FinLabs. I would say 3 months, 4 months back, and and of course we also talk about work-life balance, and something which is very close to my heart is of course women making a comeback. When you're making a comeback, even if you've had a hiatus of a few years, how does that lessen a woman's credibility? I don't understand. She's
Mm.
still credible. She's still there. All she needs to do is, because technology and everything is changing so fast these days. All she needs is some time to pick up with that,
Correct.
whatever is happening. So that doesn't really lessen anybody's credibility. So how does that hiatus become a criteria while you have a professional, a very seasoned person in front of you who is willing to come back? And but then you know that your criteria is very different. So I think these are few causes that we've been trying to push and talk about.
Mhm.
And yeah, we will continue to do some good work. And thanks to all the council members who are always there, always very, very supportive, all of them. And I think it's an awesome journey. It's been an amazing journey.
Yes, rightfully shared, Ritu. I think it's a beautiful space. And also, when you speak about the natural talent of the feminine energy, of understanding the emotions and sentiments behind anything that we are curating, that emotional intelligence, that quotient is naturally so available to us. It's just about harnessing it and investing it in the right way. And some very pertinent causes that have become agenda points for us to work in this space. So that's great. You've already covered my next piece that I was coming to was around technology itself, which I think you've pretty much covered. It's absolutely something that's always moving two steps ahead of us. And all we need to do is be aware of it and work around it to make it more of our strength than anything else. So
Absolutely.
that's correct, rightly mentioned. Now, talking specifically about public relations and digital marketing as a um, as a function in itself. It's a part of the larger umbrella function of integrated marketing communications. And the lines have been merging, right? Because from earned media to
Absolutely.
paid, owned, social, everything is intersecting with each other. How do you see this space evolving, especially for the next gen professionals? Because say for example, people like us, you've been around in the industry for over 2 decades. I've been around for close to 2 decades, and we've seen that time when everything was categorized. This is print
Yeah.
media, this is online media, this is social media, this is paid, this is earned. Now, today, everything is merging. So, in a space like that, how do you see the space evolving first? And what would you give as a recommendation as an industry level to the next generation of professionals? How do they navigate this terrain? What are your thoughts on that?
Right, Garima. So as you rightly mentioned, in earlier years, there used to be very, very clearly bucketed roles. So much so that marketing and public relations, although they are supposed to work hand in hand with each other, they used to be very, very secretive about what they are doing. Not
Yeah.
public relations so much, but marketing. They would not share any information with them, and so on and so forth. So all that used to happen. Those were again very happy days, however. But over the years, as you rightly mentioned, we all can see the approach has to be very integrated, which is inclusive of marketing. There is also internal communications, which has become a part of PR and communications departments, I would say. Then there is social media, then there is SEO, then there are so many advertising. Everything has become a part of they are all now together in an integrated form. So I think marketing, the integration that has happened, it has blurred the line between advertising and public relations, social media, and has created a more cohesive and streamlined approach, I would say, towards brand communication. So, and also, this has allowed for a unified message across various channels. So
Mhm.
earlier it used to be when it's marketing, how are they going to be communicating the message? Of course, through various hoardings and in the public, like in media spaces and everything and all. Public relations, only the news going out to the media. Now, it's a very heartening situation that everybody works together, and when they are cohesively working together and they're combined together, then of course the messaging across all the channels becomes much more easier. And it also enhances the consistency of the brand, I would say, and leverages the cross platform synergies to better engage and influence the audiences. So I would say for the future generations and the generation that we are creating, and I can say with my experience at SCORE, because I interact with the Gen Z, you call them. I mean, early
Yeah, I think
20s.
we've already surpassed Gen Z also these days,
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
generation this is.
Like whatever, whichever gen is that. So, I interact so much with them. They are such intelligent ones. These days they're so well aware, they're so
Mhm.
wise, they're so mature and intelligent. They understand how things are, and you don't really have to say anything to them. They already understand the need of the hour. They know they cannot just focus on content. They cannot just focus on public relations per se.
True.
They have to bring in an element of marketing into that. They have to understand how social media works, what are the various nuances around that. They need to understand the process in when they're talking about paid media, how is that, and what are the various marketing trends around them. So it has to be an all encompassing kind of an education for them, so they already understand that.
Mhm.
My two bit for them is, as I always tell them, is you need to be, of course, there needs to be an integration in your mind and in your approach and everything. Without that, there is no survival. And of course, you need to create a niche for yourself. There is space for everybody, but how you work on a niche for yourself, I think, is where the actual effort lies, and where the actual success comes from.
Great. No, absolutely true. While we can all be generalists and that's required, it's crucial for us to for a moment just not be jack of all trades. We need to be master of some. For
Some,
sure.
yes,
So that's
absolutely.
great. Yeah, thank you so much, Ritu. That it's been a very enriching discussion so far. The section that we get into next towards the close of this conversation is more on the coffee with Karan rapid fire lines, because in today's day and age, everybody's running against time. So these are more like tips and tricks for somebody who's starting off in the world of PR, and basis your wisdom of all these years, if there's a word of advice that you want to give them on some of these aspects that you would have well navigated in your journey. So let's begin with a little bit of gyan here, right? I can see a lot of books behind you, so I'm assuming you are a ferocious reader, and
I am a voracious
increasingly,
reader, yes.
yeah, and increasingly podcasts and audiobooks are also becoming a way of life with all the travel that we have and movement. So, is there any book or podcast that comes to your mind when it comes for young PR professionals or communication professionals, something that they must read as a Bible or can go to as a great resource?
Sure, Garima. So I am still a very conventional kind of a reader. I still like to have a book in my hand and read that. And I'm really, really, my apologies that, podcasts and all, I don't really follow much. So, however, I'm sure there are a whole number of, podcasts available. There are a whole number of ebooks available out there for them. And so it's up to them. They can pick up
They
whatever,
can listen to this
interest.
one to begin with.
Yes, of course they can listen to this one. Definitely. Why not? Gariba's first podcast. Yes, I'm going to promote this for sure. And however, I'm just very, very, I'm not being, I mean, arrogant about it. Very humbly, I just want to put across that why don't you just grab a copy of my book also, which is called Little Joys of Communication. It's a very small, thin book. But again, it touches upon the various aspects of public relations, very, very fundamentally, very basically written. But yes, that
Yeah,
it
no,
would
and
clarify.
that's a great advice, because it's a nice, when you have a small, easy to consume and digest information
Absolutely.
kind of, because we fall for these big hardbound fancy books, but
Ah,
just start with basics.
yes,
That's great. That's
absolutely.
a great recommendation, and we'll see if we can put like a nice cover somewhere in the edits of this podcast and leave it there. Um, the second thing that a lot of us, be it the newbies or even seasoned professionals that struggle within the field of PR, Ritu, is staying calm and composed in a high pressure situation. Crisis becomes a way of life when you are in PR. You gave the example of Kingfisher. While it had a beautiful run for a long, long time, there was a time which was very turbulent as well. So, how give any tips, three tips, four tips that come to your mind in terms of staying calm in testing situations?
Yes, Garima, definitely. So, what comes to mind is to be very, very, you need to be very mindful about things. I think that's one of the very first tips. And how do you remain mindful is through just being a little meditative in your approach, a little meditation, a little bit of physical exercise and working out and everything that really helps you. Secondly, I think an open communication is also very, very important. You don't just keep things to yourself, open up. There has to be a communication going out. Even if there is a crisis, you need to be communicating with the right people. It's not that media calls and you just blow your head, mind, and you just, or you're not taking calls or something like that. No,
Hmm.
you need to have that communication going. I
Hmm.
think that's very, very important. And also the keep updating the various stakeholders about whatever is happening. So while handling a crisis, while this may not be directly a tip for keeping remaining calm, but it's very important while handling a crisis, you need to keep the updates going out.
Correct.
So these are 3 4 tips for me. I mean, I would like to give here, and that's how I think I have also survived, and this is what I follow.
Perfect. Great, Ritu. I think these are very basic but very useful. So, one, just train your body and mind to stay calm in a situation, be it through breathing, be it through being present and stuff. The other that you said is keep an open door policy where you are exchanging communication and not shutting yourself down. The third is be open to communicating. And at times, I think what that does is also brings help in from places that you've not even imagined. So instead of just trying to battle it all on your own, keep communicating. So great tips, basic but very, very good. Early on in this discussion, there was something that you'd spoken about specifically with regards to women. But even if you look at it gender agnostically, work-life balance, another thing that's been a question mark, especially for communications professionals forever. because with media being 24/7, we have to work 26/8. So in a scenario like that, anything to maintain work-life balance?
I think, see, first of all, we all need to understand we are not robots here. We are human beings who need to have a balance in our lives. We need to have that, uh, of course, balance again. So we have to be very, very balanced in our approach towards life. Of course, we all get overwhelmed many a times due to work pressures, and PR and communications sadly is a very, very high pressure and a very demanding profession. So there it's very easy to lose your calm, and it's very easy to get too much drawn into the work that the other aspects of your life take a backseat. That should not happen. Work life balance is very important. So I feel you need to draw a line somewhere sometimes.
Mhm.
Of course, you have to be accessible, because this is like a round the clock kind of profession, but you have entered the profession willingly, so you are prepared for that. However, you need to draw the line sometime.
Mhm.
Delegate work.
Mhm.
Delegate the work, and don't keep too much to yourself, and you need to you must be a team player and willing to delegate work. And third, I think, is what is very important. I think is self care. Self care is very, very important. I mean,
Mhm.
you can't just leave it aside and just keep going and growing in your career. No, self care is also very important. So I feel for maintaining a work life balance, it's important to draw a line, to delegate the work, and of course to indulge in self care.
Self.
That helps.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct, correct. So objective boundaries, effective delegation, and prioritizing yourself once in a while when it's crucial so that you avoid that burnout at the end of the day is crucial. Absolutely. Great, great. And Ritu, the last thing before we part ways and close this discussion for today, um, any key PR trends to watch out for because the industry is moving at such a pace, it's evolving
Hmm.
dynamically. Is there anything that comes to your mind that these are crucial things that one may want to watch out for?
I think, the fraternity and the what do I say? People are becoming more aware of a purpose-driven communication. I think that's the key. It has to be, the communication needs to be very, very purpose-driven. It adds a lot of credibility to the organizations you are representing, and to yourself as a professional.
Right.
And because it has to be purpose-driven, because people are aware. Thanks to social media, I would say, and the technological advancements that we've been all witnessing over the last few years, people are well aware of things. So it's very difficult to actually just give them anything and they'll buy it. It does not work like that
Mm.
anymore. So the communication that is going out needs to be purpose driven totally, and it needs to be thoughtfully done. So I think that's one thing. And also it needs to be very, very authentic, because there are various means for people to figure out. You need to check your facts first, create an authentic and genuine communication, and then only you go all out with that. So I would say one trend which comes to my mind, which can be there in the future, is purpose driven communication.
That's
That's
amazing. That's amazing because you're saying that be authentic and walk the talk. So
absolutely.
there's no more winging it and spinning it in PR because today everybody's talking to everyone. So that's great,
Absolutely.
Ritu. Thank you so much for sparing the time and talking to us. This has been a great, meaningful conversation, and I'm sure people are going to find a lot of value from this. So amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Garima. Thanks for the opportunity. And I do hope people find this a little valuable and useful and insightful. Thank
I'm
you so
sure
much.
they will.
Thank you.
All
And
right.
see you
Thank you
soon.
so much. See you. Bye bye.